This is the Samsung Q70R Soundbar, and it's one of the best soundbars in its class by both audio quality and price. I've been using it for about 3 months, and it's really made my overall video and movie consumption experience much better with pretty much anything I throw at it now compared to my previous setup. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about the Q70R as well as why I think it's a great value. We're going to talk about setup, specs, give you some sound samples, and give you my real-world experience in no particular order. Couple quick notes before we start. I'll be comparing this Q70R with my older N550 soundbar since that's about an average soundbar that most people can relate to. There will also be timestamps down below if you want to skip to a certain part in the video. Anyway, let's get going. Let's start with the big stuff. The Q70R is a 3.1.2 channel soundbar with 330 watts of power and a frequency range of 35 Hz to 20,000 Hz or 20 kHz, and has both DTS:X and Dolby Atmos support. What is DTS:X and Dolby Atmos? DTS:X and Dolby Atmos are audio formats that basically add upper channels for a more immersive experience. Now, some of you may be thinking, upper channels? You're telling me I need to get speakers in my ceiling? Calm down, no, you don't. To understand what I mean, I'm gonna break down the numbers 3.1.2. What do they mean? The 3 is for the 3 front-facing speakers. You have a left and right channel for your typical audio, and a center speaker dedicated to give you clear dialogue. The sound quality is crystal clear, and gone are the days where the sound of a scene makes it difficult to hear what's being said. Whether it's gaming, movies, or music, everything comes through very clear and well balanced. When it comes to music in particular though, this turns your room into your own personal concert. It doesn't get raspy or tinny, but what it does get is extremely loud. I find that even 50% volume is loud enough at about 90 decibels from the speaker, depending on the content. And by the time it reaches me about 7 feet away, it drops down to anywhere between 70 to 80 decibels. I set the volume to 100% just for a little bit to see if the speakers got crackly or tinny or raspy or anything, but nothing. The drivers on this soundbar were made to deafen you with the clearest audio possible. Next, we have the number 1, which is for the one subwoofer that I'm currently sitting on that the Q70R comes with. And the subwoofer gets really deep and really bassy. With my older N550, the bass was pretty bassy, but it was far from clean. It shook the entire house, which is what I like, but sounded terrible while doing so. So I had to make sure I had the bass turned down so I can have a cleaner bass delivery. Enter the Q70R subwoofer. Not only does it get deeper and bassier than the N550, but delivers cleaner bass while doing so, giving me a much more cinematic experience rather than just a vibrating mess.
For 1 second, there's a BMW chasing us. Hey, can I just take a moment to thank you? There is nothing else I'd rather be doing with my life. I don't care.
Lastly, there's the number 2, which is for the 2 up-firing channels or the upper channels that I mentioned earlier, which Samsung calls Acoustic Beam. What is Acoustic Beam though? Okay, so imagine your traditional 5.1 or 7.1 home theater system. With those types of systems, you create the illusion of 3D sound by pushing specific audio at higher and lower volumes to specific speakers. It's what we've been used to for decades, but it's not really the best setup if you're looking for the most cinematic and immersive experience. Enter Acoustic Beam. Acoustic Beam is a technology that uses 2 up-firing channels that look like flutes on the rear of the soundbar. Each of these flute-looking channels have 28 holes in each channel that project sound to your ceiling and the wall behind you. So unlike the aforementioned 5.1 or 7.1 channel sound systems, which push sound into a particular speaker, Samsung uses the 3 front-facing channels along with the 2 up-firing Acoustic Beam channels to put sound into a particular spot in 3D space around you, also known as Dolby Atmos or DTS:X. And I gotta say, it's pretty convincing. I watched Star Wars in 4DX and Bad Boys for Life, and this is definitely 100% comparable to movie theater setups. I know what you're thinking. Did I really just say that? And yes, I did. Yeah, those movie theater sound systems are orders of magnitudes more powerful than this, but when you take into account the size of your average theater along with the sound system used, and scale that down to a soundbar such as this and a room in your house equivalent to those theaters, it's damn near close. When I upgraded from the N550 to this, I pretty much go out of my way to find things to watch at this point, and I never used to sit down and watch movies all day, or ever really. Now that's probably also due to the fact that I also just bought a 75-inch Vizio Quantum P series as well, but that's a video for another time. So subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss my review on this and why I think it's the best TV you can buy for the money right now. Back to the soundbar though. I'm not exaggerating. If I could have the latest movies at home, rather than having to wait a few months after their first showing in movie theaters, I'd rather have it at home and watch it here because I'm not really missing out on much of the experience anymore. So needless to say, the Acoustic Beam technology is amazing. It is worth noting though that this works best if you have a lower and reflective flat ceiling. My ceiling is average at about 8 feet tall, and you can go a little bit taller, but if it's too tall or angled, this will not give you the effect you want. Now let's talk about why I think this is such a great value. If you've been eyeing this, you'd probably think I'm crazy hyping this up so much because it retails for $800, but stop right there. Don't you dare click away from this video just yet thinking it's too expensive, because it is not $800. Yeah, that's what every retailer says its MSRP is, but I've been keeping an eye on pricing and it's been constantly on sale for $650 since late last year, and even goes down to as low as $480, which is what I bought mine for. And for that price, the value of this thing is just amazing. And I don't think anything else even comes close to the quality and the build that this has. Now, if this was actually $800, I would just save up a little bit more and buy a much better Dolby Atmos soundbar that has side-firing channels as well, but you really can't beat this at $480. Back to the big stuff though. The Q70R supports not only Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, but also Dolby Digital, Digital Plus, True HD, DTS, DRS HDMA, and 5.1 PCM. Why does this matter? Because you'll be able to fall back to those other audio formats if what you're watching doesn't have Dolby Atmos or DTS:X support, giving you still great audio quality. Now that we got the big stuff out the way, let's talk about the small stuff, starting with the remote. If you have a Samsung TV, this remote will look familiar, and that's because it's identical to the TV remote, but with black volume rockers instead of silver. You have a quick mute button, a settings button to adjust your treble, bass, and location value of your optional rear speakers that you can get for the Q70R, so they're not out of sync. I will be getting those rear speakers, so keep an eye out for that video as well. You also have a source button to change between your different audio sources, such as HDMI ARC, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and such. Speaking of Bluetooth, you also have a quick pair button on the top right of the remote. You also have a volume and subwoofer rocker, and lastly, a sound mode button. There are 4 different sound modes that you can change between. You have standard, surround, game, and adaptive. Standard leaves the audio as it was encoded. Surround adds a greater sense of immersion to movies. Game mode is supposed to make you feel like you're in the game, and the adaptive mode analyzes the incoming audio and adapts the acoustics to try to give you the best sound performance on a scene-by-scene basis. To be honest, the only difference I noticed was going from standard to pretty much anything else. Surround, game, and adaptive sounded identical to me, so I just kept mine in surround because in my mind, the name of that mode just sounds like it'll give me the best audio experience. There's also a smartphone app called SmartThings, which is a home automation app that also allows you to control the soundbar, things like the volume and sound settings and equalizer and subwoofer. I've tried it and I wasn't able to get my soundbar connected to it, so I won't be giving you any information on the app other than the fact that it looks like a carbon copy of Apple Home. You don't need the app to use the phone with your soundbar, however, because as I mentioned earlier, the soundbar has Bluetooth, which is what I assume most people will use to play their phone's audio through the soundbar anyway. Build quality is great, using very nice and high quality materials. The design is nice as well, complementing whatever setup you add this to. It's pretty wide at 43 inches, and I prefer wider soundbars since thinner ones just look ugly in my opinion. Though I would have liked to see something a little different in terms of design, being that Samsung used this design for at least 3 or 4 years now on most of their soundbar lineup. To be fair to them though, there's only so many shapes and ways you can make a soundbar look. So in conclusion, what do I think of the Samsung Q70R? Well, the sleek design makes any setup you're adding this to look great. The sound quality is amazing and adds a sense of immersion that I've only really had at movie theaters before. And for the price that I paid of $480, it's a strong recommendation. But at the time of recording, it's $650 and $550 if you bundle this with an eligible Samsung TV at Best Buy. And at that price, I feel like there are better options, and it's also up to you to decide, buy, try, and keep or return. but if you can find this for $480, you need to jump on that. I suspect they'll be going down to around $480-ish again though, because we're getting close to the time where manufacturers refresh their lineup like they do every year to the newest year model, kind of like cars, forcing retailers to discount this and other soundbars heavily to get rid of old inventory. Whichever price you end up paying for though, the sound and immersion experience that this delivers overall is fantastic and you won't be disappointed. Anyways guys, that's it. Leave a like, dislike, comment, subscribe, whatever, they're all free and any interaction helps the YouTube algorithm. As always, enjoy your day, every day. Peace.